Jacob Waters sat across from Christie, now known as Nova, at a small cafe in the heart of Montauk. The sounds of seagulls and gentle waves filled the air as they sipped their coffee. "So, Nova," Jacob began, "tell me more about your experiences at Camp Hero. What did they do to you?" Nova's eyes clouded, and she hesitated before speaking. "I don't know where to start. They experimented on me, Jacob. Mind control, telepathy, and other things. I don't fully understand it myself." Jacob's grip on his cup tightened. "And what about Stuart Swerdloff? Do you know him?" Nova's gaze drifted away, her voice barely above a whisper. "Stuart, he was part of the program too. I think he's still trapped in the loop." Jacob's mind raced with questions, but before he could ask another, Nova's eyes snapped back to his. "Jacob, be careful. They're still watching. They'll stop at nothing to keep the truth hidden." Jacob's curiosity gets the better of him, and he gently presses Nova for more information about her past. They're sitting in a quiet, secluded spot, away from prying eyes and ears. "Nova, I know you don't like to talk about it, but I need to understand what we're up against," Jacob says, his voice soft and empathetic. "What did they do to you at Montauk? What made you so determined to take them down?" Nova's expression turns guarded, her eyes clouding over. She looks away, her voice barely above a whisper. They experimented on me, Jacob. They tried to break me, to control me. But I wouldn't let them. I fought back, and I escaped." Jacob's eyes widen in shock and horror. "What kind of experiments?" Nova's gaze snaps back to his, a fierce determination burning within. "I don't want to remember, Jacob. I don't want to go back there. But I will if it means stopping them from hurting anyone else." Jacob nods, understanding. "I'm here for you, Nova. We'll face this together." Nova's expression softens, and for a moment, Jacob sees a glimmer of vulnerability. "Thank you, Jacob. That means more to me than you'll ever know." As they sit in silence, Jacob realizes that Nova's past is still a raw wound, but he's determined to support her in her quest for justice. Nova asks Jacob if he has met any of the other team leaders yet. Jacob thinks for a moment before responding, "Actually, I met Rocco Fowler briefly. He seemed intense. And then there was Stuart Swerdloff, but that was a strange encounter. He seemed really out of it, like he was struggling to remember something." Nova's expression turns serious, her eyes narrowing. "Be careful around Rocco. He's got a reputation for being ruthless. And Stuart. Poor Stuart. He's been through a lot. His memories are fragmented, and he's still trying to piece together what happened to him." Jacob's curiosity is piqued. "What do you mean? What happened to Stuart?" Nova hesitates, unsure how much to reveal. "Let's just say that Stuart was deeply involved in the Montauk project. He's been trying to uncover the truth ever since, but it's like his memories are blocked or something." Jacob's eyes widen in understanding. "So, he's like you, trying to take them down from the inside." Nova nods, her expression grim. "Yes, but Stuart's approach is different. He's more unpredictable. We need to be careful around him." Jacob replies, "I also met James and Joseph, but only briefly, just like my encounter with Rocco, it was just in passing." Nova's expression turns thoughtful, her eyes gazing into the distance. "James and Joseph, huh? They're an interesting pair. James is the more level-headed one, but Joseph, he's got a wild card streak. Be careful around him, he's unpredictable." She pauses, collecting her thoughts. So you've met Rocco, Stuart, James, and Joseph. That's quite a few of the team leaders. You're getting a good sense of the dynamics, I suppose. Nova leans in, her voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. Let me tell you, Jacob, alliances are forming, and tempers are flaring. It's a powder keg waiting to be ignited. We need to be careful, strategic. Jacob nods, taking in Nova's words. He can sense the tension building, the rivalries and conflicts simmering just below the surface. Jacob says, but Nova, I haven't talked really to any of these leaders. How should I get to know them, and which ones do I want to get to know? Nova smiles, a hint of mischief in her eyes. Ah, Jacob, you're thinking strategically. I like that. Getting to know the team leaders will be crucial in building alliances and achieving our goals. She leans in, her voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. Here's my advice, start with James. He's the most level-headed and open to reason. Then, try to connect with Stuart, despite his unpredictability. His knowledge of the Montauk project is invaluable. Nova pauses, considering her next words carefully. As for Rocco and Joseph, approach them with caution. Rocco's got a hidden agenda, and Joseph's too unpredictable. But, if you can gain their trust, they could be powerful allies. She eyes Jacob seriously. Remember, building trust takes time, and in this world, time is a luxury we don't have. Be strategic, Jacob. Choose your alliances wisely. Okay, thank you for this information, Nova, and thank you for meeting with me again. We will talk again soon. Until then, be safe. Nova nods, a hint of a smile on her face. Be safe, Jacob. Remember, in this world, trust is a luxury. Keep your eyes open and your wits about you. We'll talk again soon, but for now, be careful. She glances around the area, ensuring they're still alone, before turning back to Jacob. And Jacob, don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. I'll be watching from the shadows. With that, Nova disappears into the crowd, leaving Jacob to ponder their conversation and the complex web of alliances and rivalries within the team leaders. Jacob decides to dig deeper into Rocco's background, sensing that there's more to him than meets the eye. After some discreet inquiries, Jacob discovers a cryptic message hinting at Rocco's involvement in a secret project, codenamed Erebus. Meanwhile, Joseph's behavior becomes increasingly erratic. He's seen arguing with James, and his actions seem to be driven by a hidden motive. Jacob starts to suspect that Joseph might be working against the team's interests. One night, Jacob receives a mysterious message from an unknown sender: meet me at the old warehouse at midnight. Come alone. The message is unsigned, but Jacob has a feeling it's related to Rocco or Joseph. Jacob decides to reach out to Joseph, sensing that there's more to him than his erratic behavior suggests. They meet in a quiet cafe, and Joseph's nervousness is palpable. Joseph, I know you're struggling with something, Jacob says gently. You can trust me. What's going on? Joseph looks down, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know if I can do this, Jacob. I've done some terrible things in the past. I was involved in some of the projects, the ones that hurt people. Jacob's expression softens. Joseph, we all have pasts we're not proud of. But it's what we do now that matters. You're trying to make a difference, aren't you? Joseph nods, tears welling up in his eyes. I just feel so guilty, Jacob. I don't know if I can ever make up for what I've done. Jacob places a hand on Joseph's shoulder. You can't change the past, but you can shape the future. We need people like you, Joseph, who understand the consequences of these projects. Will you work with me to bring them down? Joseph's face sets in determination. Yes, Jacob. I'm in. Thank you, Joseph. Can you tell me anything about Rocco that I need to know before digging any further? Joseph hesitates, collecting his thoughts before speaking. Rocco. He's a complicated one, Jacob. On the surface, he's charismatic and confident, but beneath that, he's got a lot of scars. He was deeply involved in the Montauk project, and it left him with demons? Joseph leans in, his voice barely above a whisper. Rocco's got a talent for manipulation, Jacob. He uses people to get what he wants, and he's not above betraying others to achieve his goals. But there's something else, something he's hiding. I don't know what it is, but I've seen glimpses of it. It's like he's haunted by something. Joseph's eyes lock onto Jacob's. Be careful around Rocco, Jacob. He's not someone to trust easily. Thank you for your time. Joseph the First will proceed with caution when it comes to Rocco. Be safe, Joseph, and if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Laughter and a hint of sadness fill Joseph's voice. Be safe, Jacob. You too. We're all walking on thin ice here. If I need anything, I'll reach out. But be careful who you trust, okay? With that, Joseph disappears into the crowd, leaving Jacob to ponder their conversation and the complex web of alliances and rivalries within the team leaders. As Jacob walks away, he can't shake off the feeling that he's being watched. He glances over his shoulder, but sees nothing out of the ordinary. Still, the sensation persists. A man bumps into Jacob on the street wearing a leather coat. Jacob turns to the man and asks, "Are you following me?" The man replies in a Boston accent, "No, should I be?" Jacob looks around himself in confusion. What Jacob says, and as he looks up, the man that had bumped into him was gone. Jacob's eyes scan the crowded street, but the man in the leather coat has vanished into thin air. He's left standing there, feeling bewildered and wondering if the encounter was just a coincidence. As he turns to continue on his way, he notices a small piece of paper on the ground where the man was standing. Jacob picks it up, and it appears to be a receipt from a local bar, but there's a handwritten note on the back that reads, "Look into Phoenix Initiative. Be careful who you trust." Jacob's mind starts racing with questions. Who was that man? What does he know about Jacob's quest?